Welcome to the Leadership Sandbox podcast. I'm Hannah, part of the team here. Today, we're revisiting a fantastic conversation where our host, Tammy J dives into something absolutely essential for every leader, the power of pause. You know, those moments when tensions are rising or you're navigating a tough conversation or negotiation and you're not quite sure what to do next. This episode gives you tips, tools, and strategies on how to navigate this significantly important communication tactic. Also, for a step-by-step action plan with extra bonus materials, you can head over to bondgroupenterprises.com/podcast and find today's episode. Let's get ready for some game-changing insights. Grab your pen and paper, kick off your shoes, and step into the sandbox.
All right. I am so excited that you've joined me today. Thank you for taking time out of your busy schedule, leader. I know that we all have a lot going on. And as we are in now the second half, full in force in the second half of this year, there is a lot going on, a lot of momentum. I hear it from clients every single day. And one of the sandbox communication model tools, right, that I use with them often, and I have for years, is called the power of pause. Now you might be thinking, Tam, okay, that's not like rocket science. Yes, you pause, you take a pause. Yes. And how do you use it? That's it. How do you use it? How do you use it strategically so that when you are in your next bold conversation, when you're having that next level difficult conversation or that course correcting or a start, stop, and continue conversation, how do you use the power of pause for your success? How do you use the power of pause for your success when you're leading a team meeting, let alone one-on-one, but when you're in a group of people? And that's what we're diving in today. But first, I want to tell you, for me, where the power of pause really began. It started years ago for me when I realized that there were opportunities in my own communication style when I benefited, and so did the people I was communicating with. We all benefited from taking a pause. And I'm not talking about a timeout and agreeing when to come back to a conversation. That's important, but that's different. It's a different tool to use. The power of pause is understanding and being emotionally aware enough to understand when a pause for you is necessary to set you up and the other people you're in the conversation with, whether it's one-on-one or in a group, to set you all up for success. See, I have conversations every day with people in the sandbox that are talking about their challenges with the number one issue and the one place we spend the least amount of money in organizations today to resolve is communication. It's always in the top three, if not at the number one spot. That we have an issue with communication. Well, there's the said heard side to communication. And I'm going to do a podcast episode in the future. And I'm hoping my good friend Scott Sproul will actually join me in the sandbox on said heard, because I learned this. Actually, I learned this tool, how to implement this tool, the power of pause, that is, in a unique way because of the said heard. So I digress. We'll get back to that. The power of pause, as I have seen leaders in organizations struggle to figure out how to navigate communicating with their employees or with a team member or a peer, heck, even their family members, when they are frustrated and irritated. I had a situation happen just this morning, I kid you not, where the power of pause would have served me well, but I was driving and multitasking while driving and trying to merge onto the freeway when some not so nice individual decided he was going to race me up the on-ramp and cut on the inside to cut me off and not allow me to merge. Why? I guess it was more important that he hurried up and got to that next exit to sit in traffic because the exit was backed up. So I guess those that believe in it call it karma, but it was an interesting moment for me to go, wow, I just totally reacted. I was super annoyed, irritated, and probably not saying super kind things to that driver who was cutting me off and nearly caused an accident between myself and then the car in front of him and me. There were three of us. Anyways, The power of pause would have been a great tool to actually implement there. But no, I didn't use it until after I came home to record. And I'm like, golly, I just gave myself a learning opportunity of how to use the power of pause when driving. So it's that moment when those issues come up for you. It's that moment when those issues come into a conversation or a situation where it's important to push the pause button, just like you push pause on your recording device, just like you push pause when you're watching your DVR, just like you push pause on conversations that you're listening to, like voicemails that you're listening to go back and capture something. You push pause and then you push play again. The power of pause is exactly that. You're pushing pause before you go into play or go into action on the very topic that might in a moment have you triggered, might in a moment have you frustrated, might in a moment have you wondering what the heck just happened, might in a moment have somebody else in the conversation triggered, and pushing pause before you get hijacked in your thinking, right? Before your brain gets hijacked, leader, pushing the pause button, taking a breath and asking the next best question will help you to navigate those situations very quickly, swiftly, and with ease and finesse if inserted correctly. Now, that might sound really simple, and it might sound maybe too simplistic for some of you. But here's the thing. Sometimes the most simple actions required are the most powerful in situations when conflict arises. Let me say that again. Sometimes the most simple actions that we can take when conflict arises have the most impact and the greater benefit for the whole and for the outcome you're trying to achieve. When we continue to push through or we continue to storm into a conversation or push our agenda and we've stopped listening, we've stopped seeking to understand, we've stopped acknowledging that the other person might have some emotion and feeling too, and we have a responsibility as co-owners here, we have of success in this conversation and dialogue. We have a responsibility to know ourselves. Some might say that's emotional intelligence. I say that it is being aware of myself, my reaction. Yes, emotionally aware of what's happening on the inside of me so I can take a minute to pause, take a breath, and think about what has me triggered. What is my roadblock right now? What is it that I'm reacting to? What is it that I might be resisting? What is it that the other individual might be hearing me say that I'm not? What do I want to ask in this moment to gain understanding and to get clarity so that I don't keep pushing and pushing and pushing and we don't get anywhere? We actually go backwards. It's kind of like this. Do you remember the cars back in the day? I don't know that they make them anymore today. I haven't seen any on the road in years, unless it's like an old school. But I remember when I was a kid growing up, my mom, we had a vehicle that we could sit in the back seat and face backwards. Like we would sit in the back seat. It was usually in like station wagons, and we could face backwards. So we watched while the car was going forward. We're facing backwards, looking at all the scenery that the people in the front seat have already seen. We're just seeing it backwards. We're seeing it from a different perspective and a different angle. Where am I going with this tale? Sometimes I think that we get into communication loops with people where one person is facing forward and the other person is facing backwards. You're still seeing the same scenery, the same issues, but you're seeing it from a different perspective. If you're in the front seat, you're seeing it before you get to it. If you're in the back seat, you're seeing it after you've already passed it. The power of pause in that moment is to reframe and get everybody seeing it from the same side, the same perspective. That might mean we got to ask some people to turn around and let's go back again and look at it from a new angle. The power of pause, when you pause, it disengages the brain off of being right in that moment because I'm pausing, I'm taking a breath, and I'm thinking about what's the next best question I can ask. I'm thinking about the key questions of what has me triggered? What is it I'm reacting to? What do I want in this moment? What is the best outcome we could have right now? And maybe at that point, the best outcome, friend, maybe the best outcome is at that point to say, you know what? Let's take a time out and let's come back to this topic and set the agreed upon time to come back to that topic. But if we don't take that pause to collect our thought and get our intentions aligned with what it is that we want and desire most for an outcome, we're not going to get there. We're all going to keep pushing and pushing. And one person sees it coming, the other person sees it going. And you've got folks in the middle seat of that vehicle that are going, okay, that's really cool. So I'm seeing the side, right? I might see a little peekaboo of what we're coming up to, but I'm seeing it from the side. So everybody has a different seat and they're seeing it from different angles. And until we all can sit around the topic in the center of the table and construct our responses, until we can do that, and it requires often pushing pause when we get to that threshold of frustration, pushing pause, taking a breath, and recalibrating with folks to bring people back to the center of what is the issue and what is our target and our goal. Now, listen. Again, talking about communication, and we're talking about how to use this in the middle of conflict, in the middle of frustration, in the middle of irritation. Maybe you came to work and you had other things happening in your home life, or on the way to work, somebody tried to run you off the on-ramp because they had to get there first. Maybe some of that happened for you. And maybe that could be triggering you. You already came in engaged, ratcheted up, ready for that conflict that you get to have in the workplace. Choose to, get to, want to, right? That you're going to have, or that you just know it's going to be because we've over processed it in our head. Pausing before you begin a conversation that you already know might be a difficult one to enter into, and asking some really key questions, which are in the action plan. Really key questions to ask of self first before you enter into the conversation. You push pause, take a breath, and ask yourself the next best question. And having that resource of questions to ask yourself is a key element to the power of pause and its success. Yes, you can push pause, and yes, you can take a breath. And that will help to disengage, if you will, your dysregulated thinking. It will help you to calm your brain down. Oxygen helps you to do that. We know it, studies show it. Again, not rocket science. I'm giving you a new way, or a simpler way, or maybe for some, it's the first time you're hearing it presented this way of handling these types of situations. But if you come in already irritated, annoyed, frustrated because of something that happened outside of the office, and you know you're going into a contentious situation, or maybe you don't know that boardroom's going to be contentious when you get there. Maybe that email that you're reading, you didn't realize was going to be in your inbox when you got in, but you immediately fire back a response before you push pause and take a breath and try to first dysregulate your brain, or get your brain off of being hijacked. I would say it that way, in irritation. And you're actually going to figure out, what do I want in this situation? Asking myself the next best question. What has me triggered? What has me annoyed? What has me irritated? What am I angry about right now? Right? I did that when I got home. Actually, I was driving on the freeway to take my exit. What on earth did I get triggered by with that guy? Well, actually, it wasn't even about the guy. I mean, it was, but the motorcycle that actually almost got all of us in an accident before this guy. Y'all, I live in Florida. Drivers down here are nuts. They're cray. I'm telling you, it's wicked out here on the interstate. Not even kidding. 70 is for the slow lane. It doesn't matter what the speed limit says. Get out of the left lane. Anyways, I digress on that one too. What I did though was I paused and I asked myself, what just happened? What has me so triggered right now? What has me so irritated? What am I frustrated? Well, there were things I needed to get back for. The motorcycle acted extremely unsafely in front of us, nearly causing an accident. And he went on his merry way. And I guess maybe the guy in the white truck was irritated by the motorcycle like I was, and he maybe was just, I don't know, trying to show he was more important. I don't know. But my reaction to it is what I'm responsible for. Let me tell you that again. My reaction is what I'm responsible for. So if I go into a situation triggered, or go into a situation frustrated, irritated, or annoyed, or tired and low, feeling low, or not, I have a headache and it's getting in my way, whatever the excuse might be, because they are in my mind are all excuses. Taking personal ownership and personal responsibility tells me to push pause and ask myself the next best question so that I can change my behavior first. And then in a meeting, in a conversation with the person that I'm dialoguing with, I can ask a question to get clarity with the other individual. I know this is tracking with somebody out there. I know this is helping. And here's what I want to tell you one step further. Using the power of pause can be a game changer for you in your communication. Teaching the power of pause can be a team game changer in any situation. Honor it, value it. I had a playing deck of cards that were pause buttons, and on the back side had all the questions listed. And they're in my old branding, so I don't have those right now. I'm getting them redesigned because I want to get them into the hands of people again about how do you use the pause button in meetings. I know for years I had CEOs, executives, leaders, team members that would send me emails and say, Tammy, thank you for the pause button card, because we use it. And we use it in the meetings so that we can say push and pause, and they see it right on the table and they push pause. And it's that visual cue as well to let everybody know we've committed that pushing pause and using pause in our conversations is a tool to help us get through. Because when we have conversation after conversation and meeting after meeting where there are tensions and there are unresolved issues and unmet needs and unmet expectations, it only makes those meetings harder to go into. And when we aren't responsible for our own responses, reactions, when we aren't responsible to say, hey, help me understand what's going on here. I'm going to push pause, taking a breath. What's the question I want to ask? And I'll say that out loud. The question I want to ask is, why do we keep, and then I wait, right? And then I'll come back. Why do we keep coming back to this same issue without resolving it? What would it look like if we resolved it today so that we didn't have to come back to it anymore? Because I feel like we spend a lot of times digging up this same root cause issue that we haven't resolved yet. I use the power of pause to ask the group a question. And in their minds, because we've trained this at so many teams, the teams know when they hear pause, take a breath. Now, what's the question? And I can go around the room and everybody then comes up with what their question is to ask. We get to clarity more quickly. When we miss the mark and we keep pushing, people leave those meetings frustrated. They leave those meetings feeling bruised, abused, and misused. And they leave those meetings feeling like, why did I just waste the last 90 minutes, 60 minutes, 30 minutes, 10 minutes of my time? Right? When we keep going around the same issue. Listen, friend, insert the power of pause. Push pause, take a breath, and ask yourself the next best question. And that next best question is always about reflecting the mirror on yourself first, and then take it out to the group to have them reflect what they're seeing, what they're hearing, and what they're feeling. When you get into conflict, when you get into difficult conversations, when you get into scenarios where people are sitting backwards watching what just went by while others are in the front seat seeing what's coming, and we're not communicating about the two sides of what we see because we see it from different perspectives when we're sitting in different seats. Our job as leaders is to get everybody seeing it from the same perspective, even if they have a different viewpoint, that we share that perspective, create the collective, and we do that and navigate that through using a simple tool like the power of pause. There are many other tools in the sandbox communication model, many other tools that we use to help teams communicate more effectively, understanding themselves and their own personal responsibility, and understanding how to ask a powerful question, a well-placed, powerful question, and to listen intentionally, listen with focus. You've heard the term active listening, right? I'm not going to overuse a lot of these terms. That's why I like to come up with a different framework so that we don't think, oh yeah, I know what active listening is. Well, no, clearly not. Because if everybody knew what active listening is and how to apply it, y'all, we would have much different and much more effective and efficient team meetings. We would have much more efficient start, stop, and continue conversations, course correcting conversations, and realignment conversations. We would be able to level set more quickly and swiftly if we really understood how to use that one simple tool of active listening. The power of pause helps us to start, helps us to pause, to get our brain cleared, to seek to understand what we need in a moment for clarity so that we can bring clarity or get clarity from the other individual or the group or the team. It's a fabulous tool. Push pause, take a breath, and ask the next best question. Thanks for joining me in the sandbox today. And don't forget, the power of pause is up to you. Make it a great day. Hey, leader, thank you so much for joining me in the sandbox today. I enjoyed sharing with you a tool I've used for many years called the power of pause. And here's one thing that I know to be true. Time is a rare commodity for most people. So why do we want to waste it in meetings or in difficult conversations that spin in circles and don't go anywhere? Using the power of pause helps you to pause, to be able to take that breath, and to be able to get clarity on what it is you want and need so that everyone can move forward. And when you share it with your team, as I hope that you will share this podcast episode with your team, they're going to learn a new tool that you can implement immediately to up-level your communication. For more tips, tools, and strategies on how to navigate your next bold conversation, head on over to tammyjbond.com. And you can also go to the podcast page to download your copy of today's action plan, which has some great resources in it, including questions to ask self and others. I want to thank you for coming into the sandbox. I take it very seriously, and I'm honored that you spent time to up-level your leadership. You know that we aren't born leaders. It's something that we grow into. And you took time today to grow into your next level of leadership in the sandbox. And I'm honored. Make it a great day, and we'll see you next time.